Okay, so for my instructional video, I'm going to talk about my morning binders and how I implement them in my classroom. I took some information and reusable things that we already have in the classroom that we had done independently in different ways, and I put it all into one morning binder. So the routine in my classroom is after breakfast, students will get rid of all their trash, and then they'll go to their buckets. I teach kindergarten and first grade life skills, and at this grade level we don't have a classroom full of readers, and so my entire classroom is color coded for each student. So their cubby outside where their backpack is has a color that's assigned to them. Their buckets in the classroom have a color. Their seats have a color dot so that they know where they're going, and anything that needs to be turned in, they know it goes into their colored bucket. So the first one that I want to show you, and of course these are fake students, I wouldn't show you real students, it would be for student Ariel. So her color is a yellow color, and all of her buckets will have that. So she'll know when she sees this yellow piece of paper, it's hers, even if she can't read what's on this. So this is something that we would do daily in a small group. Each student is going to be able to come in and edit their own notebook with different levels of assistance, whether it's hand over hand or just prompting and cueing. So the first thing is we're going to work on the day of the week, and they each have a bag that has a selection of all of their day of the week pieces, and they're all Velcroed, so they can put them on and change them and start working on building that. Another life skill that is really important for our students to know, and I make sure that all of my students have this page in their binder, is their address. They need to know if they need help, where help is supposed to go, or where they're supposed to go. So every single morning we say their address together, and we get them to start trying to get that out, whether if it's through sign language, through a talking machine, or verbally, and starting to push those kids to know that. And then we also have them work on their birthday and being able to know, numerically what that is. And that is a Velcro tab as well. This student is differentiated differently than the other two notebooks that I'm going to show you. It doesn't have quite as much work inside of it, and the difficulty level is much different. So this next one is, how are you feeling today? Because if we came off the bus grumpy that day, we need to know and try to figure out what's wrong, or we're not going to make it through the day. So they get to tell me how they are today. And if they're sick or if they're sad or they're mad, they can tell me that and we can talk about it. And that's just a really good life skill for them to be able to work through. We look at the weather and documenting weather. Weather is a kindergarten and first grade teak. Being able to graph and show data daily is one of the things that we have to do as kindergartners and first graders. So we look outside and we determine what kind of weather we're having. We also are going to look at the seasons and how to dress for those seasons. So Texas is a little bit silly, and our seasons don't always match what it does on the TV. So even though it's spring, it may be early spring and we still have to wear long sleeves and pants and shoes. Or it could be winter and we're still wearing shorts. So that's a fun skill to see how the kids dress themselves. We also work on our interpersonal skills with each other. So my small groups at the table, when they get to a page like this, they will get to pick one way to greet one of their friends. So they can look at one of their friends and wave to a friend, or they can high five a friend, or they can fist bump a friend, or they can use their talker to talk to a friend. I also try to flip-flop skills so that it's not super heavy on the weather, and then move into math and then move into English. A lot of times I'll kind of just weave them in and out. If it's something that they're putting on, and I look at, are they writing something? Are they having to put something on? So the way that it's being delivered, I try to change that up too. So this is another temperature, which is another science teak that we have to look at. And then this one is special for this student because it's one of her IEP goals. This was in her IEP bucket, but I needed her practicing it regularly, so I've moved it into this daily binder. So what we would do is we would start slowly, where we'd take off maybe you know, one row at a time, and she'd have to build one row and put them in a certain order. And we might change the order that we want her to do from greatest to least or least to biggest. And then by the end of the IEP goal, all of these would be taken off and she would have to build them completely. Oh, and underneath each one of these, it does show which one should go there. So the font will change depending on the word, so she can match it that way. Then we go back to days of the week. In class, we sing our days of the week and we sign our days of the week every day, but this is an extra practice for these students who have the most severe needs. They need that repetition. So they build, and we're working on words like today, yesterday, and tomorrow, which is actually part of a history teak. And then we move into a mathematics lesson. This student has a hard time with knowing her how to build numbers, how to write the numbers, and how to recall the numbers. And so we would use this in her IEP bucket, and I've also moved that into here so that she can be building. It's got several different levels on here. So we might start with this one would be the most accommodated, where it's all there and you can see it. And we might say touch 1, touch 2, touch 3, or just ask her to say the numbers, whatever she's able to do. Then we would move to tracing the numbers, and then we would move to the full-blown writing the numbers. In kindergarten, they are required to know their numbers up to, I think, 120. So you can see the difference here that we're working on for these kids, or 100. Kindergarten is 100, because you get to be in the 100 club. But you know, we're at a very scaffolded scale here for her. And then building your name. In a lot of different ways that we accommodate this. We might build it on top of here and let her copy it. Or we may just build it in here and let her trace it, depending on what level we need to put her at when she comes back from summer break. And then this is sequencing and patterning, which is a math goal, where she has to extend this pattern across. Again, we can accommodate it to different levels. We can trace it, or she can copy it, or she can verbally tell us and we can write it. And then going back to her alphabet, practicing her uppercase letters so she can trace these. And we can do all kinds of things with this board. They can pair partner, and they can have one partner like touch and call letters. The other one can be interactive while they're going through it. Or the teacher that's working in the small group can say touch letter Q, and she touches it. Or she can just be tracing over it. So this would be, there's a lot of tasks in this. I also have her daily schedule, her visual schedule. So before she leaves the table, she would go through and she would figure out what comes next and what her day's gonna look like. So at the beginning of the year, we'll probably pull a lot of these out. But I wanted to go ahead and have all her information grouped together and have it ready so that when she is ready and she can sit long enough at the table, she can do that. Here's another student whose binder is going to look a little bit different. Again, his color is different. He is still sticking with this first page. His abilities, this student is autistic, and he does need a lot of help with his speech, but his writing is really good. So he gets a lot more writing tasks. He still is going to be able and required to do this, even though he does have a speech impairment. He will repeat things for you once you start practicing it. This page is really useful because this is what Mom's phone looks like. And so as he practices his phone number here, we also have him type it in so that he can get used to that in case of an emergency. We did not teach 911 this year because I don't know that we're mature enough yet to make sure that we don't just call 911 just because we want to. But maybe in the future we can get to that. We do have phone number where they can put on, and we have the numbers that they're supposed to match to underneath. And these are editable for each student to make sure that it's appropriate for what their address and their number is. Again, he does the weather page. His numbers are going to go to 30. So this student can count to like 100, but he cannot write them to 100. Right now he was only writing to about 20, so I put this in here, and he was able to copy. So we'd catch him looking in his IEP bucket and copying the ones that are here. So this is a goal that he still needs to work on for his IEP. He's also got the today, tomorrow, and yesterday language. He's got his emotions that he can fill in. And then he's got his classroom rules in here because with his disability, he does have some behaviors that we are working on. And so instead of just having these on his desk, I wanted a way for us to review it every morning so he knows what his expectations are. So one of his things that he does is he sniffs other students and other teachers. He'll just climb you and sniff you. So no sniff. We need to make sure that's on there. And then he also climbs a lot up on furniture and just wants to touch things that are really high. So we make sure that we go over our rules for him. He can write his name independently, and then we also do words for him to write, and he can write anything from Panasonic, Sony, any kind of computer or TV word that he's seen. He can write it from memory. Then we go back into the weather and do some science activities after he's been writing for a little while. And he has this calm board where he can choose how he wants to interact. Our last one that I'm going to show you, again, a different color. She's got vastly different skills in here, and I think that this first page, she is one who is able to write and read. So she's got her daily schedule here, and hers is broken down by day and different activities, so we review whatever day it is that she's on. And then we give her a word, she writes it, she boxes it, and then she draws us a picture, showing that she's got that. With Bloom's taxonomy, it's a deeper level. She understands what the word and can interpret it in her own way. And then we have this name writing page. So she is writing, but she holds her pen in a different way, a weird way. It's upside down. So, typically we hold it this way. She holds it this way with her thumb and finger down on the page. And so OT is really trying to work with her on holding an appropriate grasp and writing within the lines, within a box. So she's still not quite in this box, and she's not able to write her whole last name because she doesn't have an appropriate grasp that's comfortable. So this is a occupational therapy goal that we have in here for her that goes with that. Her birthday, we haven't done this one yet. This is a new one for her. Her phone number, this is a new one. We never got that one in there. And then we go back into her daily schedule. What day is today? And let's change it. So she has a lot of the similar pages. She does have the iPhone page with this page where it's sticking, but I wanted to move her to the one where she writes it independently. Where it has the clothing page where she has to choose appropriate clothing for the season. And then she goes into here where we start looking deeper at the letters and how they're constructed. So she has to match the ones that are made out of curved lines, straight lines, and both. So we started slow, and we might just take off these 3 and say curved lines, and we'd work through it till the end of the year. We're doing the whole page. She also has some categorization, which follows an IEP goal that's specific to her, where she has to be able to put things into a category. So we practice this daily. She has 2 pages of it. So in the beginning, we start with a few, and then we build as she starts to catch on. We have her daily rules to remember and practice. Her yesterday, today, and tomorrow, which all her stuff is back here. How she's feeling. And then she practices her name on these smaller lines. Again, it's just another one of those IEP goals that matches OT and our TEKS for writing name. The weather. And this one is one we probably need to update for her, but is counting to 30. She can count verbally to 100, 200. She'll count till you tell her to stop, but she's not able to write them all correctly. So we just stopped her at 30, learning how to write those. And then her last page is this letter building, the alphabet building page. So as she gets stronger on that, this can come out. So these are my daily binders. They can be scaffolded and differentiated for every student for each IEP. Students work in a small group roundtable with a paraprofessional or the teacher or both, depending on the level of need that they have. And you get one student started on a task, so you might open it and say, okay, our word today is love, so write love. And the teacher might write the first word, and then she starts working. And then you have this binder open to your next student. And you say, okay, today is, what is today? Today is Tuesday. Find Tuesday in your bucket. And you might give them some choices. Okay, hey, good job writing your name. All right, now let's box it. All right, great, next student, 3. All right, find Tuesday. Let's find Tuesday on our book, and we just work through each page. So it gives these students a little bit of independence, and they can start on a task. You're still monitoring, you're still prompting, you're still cueing, but they're able to start pulling away and be independent, because the leap from pre-K to kindergarten is huge, and they are expected to be able to sit longer and to do things on their own. So these binders are going to help with that, to help instill that independence and let them be able to do it on their own. Thank you.